to the Minister of Finance and asks, what is the fiscal deficit likely to be in calendar year 2011? And what would the fiscal deficit be if there had been no tax cut on the 1st of October 2010 for the top 5% of earners?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, it's hard to answer the member's question in detail simply for two reasons. One is that the government uses a March year and not a calendar year, so it's just a bit complicated to isolate the calendar year. And secondly, all earners have benefited from reductions in, say, the bottom tax rate. But it would be fair to say that if there had been no reduction in, say, the top rate of tax, then the deficit would be smaller. However, tax reductions right across the board have been part of tax packages that have been fiscally neutral. That is, where the government has given away income tax, it has paid for that by taking more tax in other forms.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Mr Speaker, has the Minister seen the table on the Treasury website that allows revenue from tax changes to be calculated? And if so, has he seen that it shows the cost of the tax cut for the top 5% of income earners this year will be $462 million, meaning the deficit will be worse by that amount this year than it would have been if the top rate had been left unchanged?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, that's, I think, what I said in answer to the first question. But the tax packages that we've done, both on the 1st of April 2009 and then October 2010, were both self-funding. So the government's tax packages have not contributed to the deficit. We have offset income tax cuts with other tax increases.
The Honourable Jim Anderton.
Wouldn't the $462 million a year from the top 5% of income earners with incomes over $100,000 a year help to raise $4.6 billion over 10 years, which could be used to help pay for the Canterbury earthquake and to give jobless young Cantabrians trade skills to help rebuild their city?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's, I think, long been that member's position that higher taxes are a good thing. We don't believe they are a good thing unless they are used for effective purposes. People who had reductions in the top tax rate are also subject to higher taxes on investment housing, higher effective taxes on overseas owners of New Zealand assets where they may have a share in those assets. They're paying higher GST. Rules have been tightened on social support, such as working for families, to ensure that broader definitions of income are used. So we are satisfied that the tax packages have been fiscally neutral. Of course, there are challenges with funding the recovery for Canterbury, but the government's determined to do a good job and will fund what's necessary.
Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, what has been the cumulative fiscal impact of tax changes made by this government since taking office in 2008? The
Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the members are wrong about that. The combined impact of the two tax packages the government has done are a net gain in 2011-12 in revenue of $950 million. That is to say, if the government had had no tax packages, revenue would be almost $1 billion lower than it will be in 2011-12. And I know the opposition might be startled about that, but that is the result of the government changing the tax system to make it more effective and provide better incentives for a stronger economy and more jobs.
Question number 4, Dr. Paul Hutchison.